entitled Mother Snatches My Phone Out of My Hand Because I Wouldn't Let Her Son Play Games on It. I did not know they made those in Canada too. For context, I am a young university student. I have two phones, one which is an old Huawei model that I use for school and work. It's quite slow but has all my authenticator apps for school, years of notes, the email I use for work and my work number on it. It runs okayish well but is horrible in terms of processing speed and storage, yet I'm a lazy shit and keep putting off transferring all the data to make my future self's life easier. My second phone, on the other hand, is a newer iPhone 14 Pro Max model and it has all my games, friend contacts, social media, etc. on them. This occurred back when classes were still in session, but reading all these stories jotted my memory, and now I finally have time to share it too. Everything is still so vividly detailed in my head that I basically can't get it out, since everything was so absurd. Anyways, onto the story. Onto the bus I go, a normal ride for me which I take every day. I take two connections, one which is an express bus from the university to a SkyTrain station, and the second from the SkyTrain station to home. The second bus is where I encounter this entitled parent. I sit down at the back of the bus where I always sit, and a woman who's on her phone and talking very loudly, gets on the bus with a noisy kid who is screaming and crying and throwing a hissy fit for God knows why. I sigh, realize it's going to be one of those rides, and try to ignore the commotion. Little did I know, the little one has climbed up next to my seat and staring at my screen, while her mother is nearly 5 seats away still in heated conversation about God knows what. Out of nowhere, I hear a "Do you have games on your phone?" I spin around, and there he is. This little kid, perhaps 7 or 8, is gazing deep into my soul, on his knees on the seat, and inches from my face. I lean back because, well, I don't function well with people up in my face, and this kid leans closer. Foolishly, I reply. "Can I play on it?" "No. Go away." "But I'm bored." "I don't care. Go away." The kid pouts and runs off. I thought that was the end of it. Then, a shadow looms over me. I hear an ahem. Then again, I try to ignore it, but it was like an unskippable boss fight cutscene. Then, out of the corner of my ear, young man, I look up. Great. It's the crazy lady. "Yeah? Why did you tell my son he couldn't use your phone?" "Because it's my phone? You kids are always glued to the screen these days. You can do without it for a single bus ride." At this point, I am stunned. So I don't respond for a few seconds, then slowly reply, "What I do with my phone is none of your business." This lady recoils in shock and anger as if I had just buried a puppy alive. "How dare you talk to me like that? Show some respect." She then sees my second phone, my work phone, and says, "You have two phones, just give him one, you can use the other one." "No, lady. I'm not giving some stranger's kid my phone." "But you don't need two phones, lady." I was annoyed at this point, and my tone was starting to get aggressive. "It doesn't matter that I have two phones. They are my phones. I won't be giving them to your son." No means no. She rolls her eyes and walks away, her son screaming and clutching the legs of her pants. I tune out the commotion once more, stricken with disbelief and still wondering what in the world just happened. Open up some offline games to decompress. I thought that was the end of everything. How foolish I was. I feel a tug on my backpack as I zone out. I instinctively look for my screen, and this little piece of shit is under the seat, reaching into my bag trying to pull out my second phone. I panic, smack away his hand, and shout, "What the fuck are you doing?" Now, I am normally a very calm and reserved person. However, having served 6 full years in the Royal Canadian Army Cadets and currently being a drill instructor, my voice was loud when I wanted it to be. The kid winces and cowers, freezing for a solid moment before crawling out from under the seat, and runs to his mother crying. I sigh to myself. Yep. She's back. Before the kid even reaches her, she's up and storming over. "How dare you speak to my significant other like that? Your son tried to steal my phone, let him have it, stop being a brat. You can stay off your phone for a moment. It's not that big of a deal." I was seething with rage. Boiling with anger. Without skipping a beat, I spat back, "Well, if it's not such a big deal, how about you let him have yours? That way, you can keep an eye on your little precious angel and start being a responsible parent for once. Your kid being bored is not my responsibility." She turned red and demanded, "Are you calling me a bad parent?" And I responded with, "If you were such a good parent, your kid wouldn't be off trying to steal other PE Original Poster Lee's stuff now." Our shouting match had drawn quite a commotion. I heard a few oohs and damns from the back of the bus. She grew visibly red and snatched my phone from my hand. Not my work phone, the one in my hand. "Give me that, you brats don't deserve these." I was stunned for a second that she actually did something so incomprehensibly stupid. Looking back, I knew I should have done something better. But I sprang up, wrestled my phone from her grasp, and knocked her down in the process. Shit hits the fan. She starts wailing like a banshee, screaming that I assaulted her. Her son is crying and he's punching me in the legs. The bus screeches to a halt, and the driver comes running up. Now, seeing the situation, me towering over the screeching mother and holding a phone, he assumes that I was the perpetrator. This is quite a long bus, joined together with two sections, so I assume that he hadn't heard or saw exactly what was happening, only noticing the commotion in his rear mirror and seeing me knock Karen down after snatching the phone from her grasp. So he says, "Sir, return that device at once and leave the premises, or I will be forced to call the pol." Before he can even finish the sentence, the entire bus explodes with several other passengers speaking up at once, defending my case and telling the driver what had actually happened. The driver held up his hand, backed up, and tried to get everyone to calm down, which took quite a while, especially because the Karen kept screaming that she was going to have me arrested, that she was going to sue me, that she was going to press charges, etc. Once everything finally calms down, I begin to speak. However, the Karen interjects with, "Sir, he stole my phone from me. I demand to have this insert racial slur arrested. Ma'am, please don't use that language here." He looks like he's about to say something else, but I sigh and hold up my hand, and in the most calm voice I can muster in the moment, reply, "Sir, this phone is mine. If you will allow me, I will unlock it." I hold up the phone. It's got an anime wallpaper on it, certainly not something middle-aged women with children would have. I type in the password, and the screen is unlocked. The Karen starts screeching again. He saw me type in my password. That's how he knows, lady. A clearly annoyed man in the back speaks up in a booming voice. There are cameras on the bus. Everything is recorded. At the mention of cameras, she turns white as a sheet. Then, without skipping a beat, she drags her crying son to the back door and begins pounding on it, demanding that she be let out, all while screaming obscenities and threatening that she's going to sue, that she's going to file a complaint with transit, blah blah blah. That wasn't even it. In the commotion, despite threatening to buy the Karen, someone had actually called the cops. Right on cue, so two officers roll up to the bus with flashing lights. The Karen throws herself at the officers as they are let in and starts spinning some sob story when she's cut off at once by a very annoyed police officer. This was something like 8 at night and was probably nearing the end of his shift or something, because he had an expression like he was absolutely done. Long story short, the bus was halted for something like an hour and 45 minutes, a second one pulled up which all the other passengers filed off into not before giving a witness's statement. The camera feed was pulled, and Karen was placed into the back of a cruiser after she slapped a police officer. One says that they arrived because there was a report of someone being assaulted on public transport. The police get my contact information, my ID, etc., and tells me that they'll contact me if anything else needs to be done. I have no idea what happened to the kid, because I didn't stick around for the aftermath and just wanted to get the hell out of there. The worst part? My parents, who was always displeased with me coming at home late, unfortunately, did not believe my story. They thought it was an excuse. This goes beyond entitled parents and veers into mental illness, probably both. I would have found it hard not to smack her and boot that brat 50 yards away.